morning, and welcome to 20 Minutes on Fighting Disinformation. My name is Christopher Hammer. We have so far in this series of short talks been focusing on fact-checking, but as we know, the fight against mis and disinformation is multifaceted. And we are today focusing on what technology and artificial intelligence can do for us. We will hear from Amelie and Gaute Kokkvoll from a startup called Factiverse. Maria is the co-founder of the company together with Media City, who's associate professor at the University of Stavanger. They've been busy working on a so-called fake news detector. So Gaute and Maria will take us through how the tools of artificial intelligence have evolved over the last years since 2015 and what they can do for us today. Maria and Gaute, I think many newsrooms have tuned in today to hear more about what are the tools available. So we're all ears.
Right, great. Thanks for having us here. Really exciting to be here. And obviously this is quite a big topic. So 20 minutes is going to be difficult to catch all of it. But we'd like at least to give a go through and how we see the development going, especially around AI and tech solutions fighting fake news. As you all know, misinformation hurts. Can you still see the side of my screen, or are the cameras blocking it? It's fine? Good. As you all know, misinformation hurts. 1 in 2 struggle to separate what's real or not online. It's a huge cost around misinformation, obviously in revenue, but also for democracy, public discourse, etc. Problems that you're probably most familiar with. Just tapping into what is the word fact check. So fact check means to investigate an issue in order to verify the facts. And we see a huge growth, which is very positive. We see a huge growth in fact-checking organizations. And in 2015, before a certain someone became president in the US, there were 44 fact-checking organizations. And the last report we saw was actually that it's close to 350 organizations worldwide today. There are also fact-checkers in more than half of all countries. So they see that this is really not just specific to certain areas of the world. There's growing impact. We see, for example, in India, there's a huge increase in fact checkers. So we see that this is development continuously. And I wanted to touch a little bit on how fact checking has developed since 2015. Obviously, this will be a short breakthrough. But as we saw kind of with the beginning of fact-checking organizations, it was very focused around claim reviews and labeling. So you wanted to see, okay, what was being said during the presidential debate, for example, find that claim and find out, okay, is it true? Is it false? How can we label that claim? And a lot of solutions out there, kind of, you've probably seen the PolitiFact meter, pants on fire to true. Factdisk also had their labeling of articles, and as Christopher talked about a few weeks back in this session, he said that Factdisk, they're now moving away from having this specific labels on the information, and that's what we also discovered in Factiverse, is that telling, if you think that the Earth is flat, then having this kind of alarm bell, this is false, it won't really affect the reader or the user that much. So we see that there's kind of this gradual change where it's more important to show transparency and show how you actually done the fact checking instead of labeling it to true or not true. The last wave that we see more and more companies coming to now is more of this internet at scale solution. How can it kind of work together, you know, with the amount of information that comes into social media every second. It's more and more important to fight this with speed and automation. So we see a lot of new companies, if it's about verifying videos or if it's about crowdsourcing from certain conflict areas, as we can see now in the Ukraine situation. These kind of solutions are still coming into the fact-checking field. Just a few challenges of traditional fact-checking that you're probably familiar with from before. A lot of the responses so far has been kind of responsive, so reactive responses. The fake news typically travels a lot and makes a lot of impact before it gets fact-checked. and also the fact check rarely reaches the same amount of traffic. Another challenge is that some of these fact-checking organizations are independent, or they're non-profit organizations and are very dependent on grants and funding. So that makes it difficult to scale a lot of the solutions out there. And there's also been, even with the growth of fact-checking organizations, there's actually been some increase in inactive fact-checking organizations as well in the last years. So finding this kind of match with the commercial or funding side is becoming increasingly important. And there's also this kind of balance between blacklisting and censorship. As fact checkers, if we say that Russia Today, if we block that, and what will that kind of going into that path can suddenly lead you into censorship. So it's kind of important that we as fact-checking organizations working on this topic, that we're transparent and try to avoid this definite blacklistings and going into that kind of direction where we are the editor of what's true or not. And there's many ways to fight fake news, as you probably know. We see one of the takes this is from the Duke lab, and they say that self-regulation is one of the tasks we see, that fact-checking is like a preferred response to fake news. That it's becoming a more common knowledge to check claims if you see them, and that people are getting to know these kind of tools and how do you verify information online. But another big and important topic is regulation. So transparency as a requirement. We see, to take a really an example that's a few years back, we see that, for example, with content marketing, you have to mark or be clear that it is content marketing in the editorial. And I think that is going to be even a more requirement going forward, that you'll have to be transparent about what the story is or how it's been written, what is the background of it, etc. Last but not least, education is incredibly important. Don't tell me what to think, but how to think. And going into this media literacy, like Factiverse and Tank is doing, kind of helping the younger generation learn how to combat fake news and think for themselves, is probably the most important point. But AI is also growing. Maria, you want to tell us a little bit what's happened on the AI front recently?
Yeah, thank you, Gaute. So my co-founder Vinay Sethi has been working on AI and fact-checking since basically 2017, and it's been interesting to see how things have developed over time. One of the reasons I guess we have this field of automated fact-checking is because there are so many manual fact-checkers, because AI, as Vinay usually says, AI is not magic, and you need good quality data in order to train the algorithms to understand the text and say whether it's the claim is disputed or supported. And that's, I guess, why one of the challenges it is to really succeed with automated fact checking, because you need this data. And manual fact checkers has done an amazing job here. And as you mentioned, Gaute, the step 3, the trend we see now, it's more and more collaboration between manual fact checking organizations and AI tools, because they kind of depend on each other, I think. And another trend we see after we've done many interviews is, we approach journalists with this an idea, oh, do you need like a fake news detector? And most of the journalists said, actually not as much as a fake news detector, but I need a tool that can help me to, get an overview of a topic very fast, and to kind of show me the polarizing, conflicting views in a topic, so that I can assess and get a feeling about what is it about. Because when you just do a Google search, you kind of you get lots of results. But what if I could see who is on different sides of this? And so we started working towards this, and then we found an American website called Ground News, which I recommend to check out. And that's exactly what they do right now, is that if they summarize news articles, and then they show you who else has written about it. And then they have sorted about 50,000 websites on different metrics. One of them is, the main metric they have is from left to right politically. And it kind of actually helps just to see the headlines and see how different newspapers are covering this topic and who are those different newspapers, because few of us can really classify 50,000 newspapers. And that is also based not just on any classifications, but they use research projects like all sides in order to sort this type of information. And then another thing that is a trend we see more and more is media monitoring, that there's a need to both monitor news, fake news, and just to see how the misinformation spreads and who else is affected by that, especially social media. And the third one is black box, or we call it, so the way AI works today, when you analyze a text and it kind of gives you a summary and says, okay, this article is most likely to be disputed, there's some controversy here, but you don't get insight into, but why is it disputed? Like, how did AI came to this conclusion? And, you know, in another sector where AI and automation is used, you might not be interested even in how AI came to that conclusion. You just use that metric for your work. But for journalists who focus a lot on transparency, who need to know why things are like they are, who are skeptical by profession and nature, they need to know, okay, why did AI decide that this article is controversial? And we see a very huge kind of movement towards something called explainable AI. Basically, how can you decipher what is in that black box and show the users how AI was thinking? So that's something we've started to look into as well, because one thing you can say what's disputed, but if you can actually help the journalists to see the logical argument behind the AI, and also maybe expose that sometimes AI is not logical there, sometimes it's just lack of data that leads you to this verdict. So yeah, that's kind of one of the, I guess, future trends we see. And manual fact-checking and automated fact-checking is still in a very, very young age of what it is. So it's very exciting to think what will it be in 10, 20 years when the field grows, especially if there's a lot of collaboration with technology.
Yeah, so that's a really good question.
Oh, you jumped onto that one, right? Yeah.
So what will fact-checking be in 2050? These are just some thoughts from our side, but I think for one's sake, I think it's going to be a more integral part of journalism and not necessarily something that you do on the side. So not like a niche part of journalism. And we see, like Maria said, automation and AI, it has to kind of reveal more of the background than it gives you the answer. So instead of saying, this is disputed, this is true, or, pants on fire, you could actually see, okay, this is the assessment the AI did. So you can actually understand the background for the assessment. And one big thing that we see is obviously collaboration across organizations. We're very fond of being part of the Media City Bergen collab and kind of getting together on sessions like we're in just now. I think that is going to increase more and more. And I talked with some journalists from NRK also last week, and they were, in each editorial field doesn't need to verify the same videos. So we see a lot of kind of talks and initiatives across these news teams to work better together. I wanted to bring up, to kind of emphasize this point, I wanted to bring up a pretty fake background actually, but that you probably heard before. I don't know if you know that this is not true, but I've seen this many times, and it's like the Japanese word for crisis. It consists of the words dangerous and opportunity together, which would be like it would match this story perfectly. But when I run it through our AI, it found 44 disputing articles that this is true, and 0 supporting this claim. So it's quite obvious that that was false. So I tried to look up some other matching claims, and I found this one from Albert Einstein: in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. And I also fact-checked that and found out that it's actually John Wheeler who said that Albert Einstein said it to him. So it's not a direct source, but I think you catch the slogan here, and what we see and what we've been seeing after, especially with the Ukraine conflict, is that there is lots of collaboration going on. Last week we had Enoch from Ukraine Facts. We've already had some talks with him, and at Factiverse we're also looking at how can we create easy prototypes to collect fact checks and give you, as a journalist, insights onto what are the most recent claims, what is going on in the conflict right now. And we definitely think that this kind of collaboration is going to increase, and hopefully we will come out more strong than we've been before, especially around fact checking and technology. Yeah, I think that's it for us, and we'd be happy to please get in touch with us if you have any questions. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, just one sentence to add. Actually, you tried to search for this Japanese word in Google, and then you read like 20 articles, and then try to figure out whether it's disputed or not. And then and then we were discussing why not try it in our tool, and then it actually gave a reply pretty fast. But as you see, we also went away from this fake or true, and we're testing like supporting, disputing, neutral. And we also added in our search that you not only search in Google, but you can also specifically search in fact search and in Wikipedia and Bing News.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much, Maria and Gaute. It's encouraging that the tools are getting better to detect mis and disinformation.